Welcome to this workshop is about shared leadership, and it's a topic that I designed based on my experience with shared services. And so we're going to just talk about the demographics of the program that we all work with in one of our many roles. And just to kind of set the context and just do some introductions and kind of give you our process. And then you can tell us what else you want to know about our process. So I'm Lisa Polk. In a former life, I was the first director of the Georgia Alliance, Shared Services Alliance, for 4.5 years. I left that position I am a touch people person. So I have been in early childhood for over 20 years. So taught college, you name it. I've been the plunger, the bus driver, the nurse, just like a lot of other people. I currently have a nonprofit that works with families and children in trauma, as well as working as a regional director for Leapfrog Academies. I've sat on numerous state boards, currently on a working group. So when they were talking about competencies, admin competencies, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm sitting on Georgia's rewriting theirs now, their admin competencies. So I sit on the work group to help do that. So lots of things, love early childhood, and just like you all want to make a difference in our field and help to push it forward. And so these two ladies, we have 4 ladies actually currently on our leadership team. So the 2 ladies in the picture, they couldn't come with us today, so that somebody had to stay in man the fort. So the young lady with the braids, her name is Deja Green, and the young lady behind her is Denitrice. And then I would like these 2 ladies to take a moment to introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. I am Denitrice Banks. I started with Leapfrog actually through Miss Lisa and her CDA class because I changed careers. I did 20 years of college administration that burned me out. I was in financial aid. So I switched and wanted to deal with children. So I went to Leapfrog, and I say by the end of the year, within a year's period, I became lead teacher. And then after that, Ms. Lisa felt comfortable putting me on the leadership team. But my desire has always been the public school system because I saw the breakdown in college administration as far as them not knowing how to even fill out a document. You know, and this is your money, this is your life. So I said, well, let me take it back a step. And after that, I went ahead and now I work for Clayton County Public School Systems, and I work with special needs. So I decided to come back to Leapfrog part-time. I couldn't leave them. So
we wouldn't matter.
Yes, so now I am a mentor and coach for the toddler class that I used to actually teach in. And I enjoyed it, and I'm ready to broaden that aspect and hopefully be an actual coach for the state of Georgia. That is my ultimate goal. I do plan on staying in the school system for a little while, but my desire has always been early childhood. So I will be going back to that. But that's all, thank you.
Sorry, just to give you time.
Well, I know you always feel like the mouth is big. However, in order to actually get into the recording, we want you guys to use these, okay? So I think you were done, and I'm sorry for this. But yeah, so when you talk, just use the mic, okay? There you go.
Okay, I'm Antoinette Clear. I am the new kid on the block. Everybody's been there a little longer than I have. I was hired on as part of the leadership team. When I came to Leapfrog Academies, they were already into the leadership as a group, as a team leadership. So I came in on it about almost 2 years ago now. I've been working with children in the childcare industry now for about 33 years. I've done everything from teach preschool, 3-year-olds, homeschool, and then have my own family daycare. So that over that span of years, coming to Leapfrog, not as a teacher, because I don't think I'm getting too old, but that's not to someone to help in the leadership team. So now I get to help Lisa take off some of the burden as a director. We get to all help her and just willing to be supportive as a team to address all the other issues, so she won't have to be the plumber, the bus driver, and the cook. So we are all. So we all try, we all wear different hats, and we're big on cross training so that everybody can do everybody's job, so it doesn't fall on one person. So now I am just trying to do that in West Tennessee State University, early childhood education. Now, trying to get back to the vein of wanting to be more of a leadership coach to help the teachers as opposed to teaching, still just trying to help the younger set.
So just a little bit about Leapfrog Early Learning Academy. So Leapfrog, and we call them Leapfrog Academies now because there's 3. They've expanded actually through the pandemic. And so currently we serve almost 200 children.
I'm going to give you a lapel mic.
So we service almost 200 children with the capacity to add on 40 additional children that will expand to be 100 over the next couple of years. It is in an under-resourced part of just south of the city of Atlanta, 15 minutes and you're in town. We're near the airport. And so we are near the airport. We are considered to be in a food desert. We're in a Title I area. All of the elementary schools, the 6 elementary schools around the child care programs are all failing schools. If you look them up for their letter score, it's an F. And so probably 85% of the children are on subsidized child care food program. We have a lot of families, which a lot of programs have a lot of families with just different trauma that's associated with them, but we serve a lot of foster families. We have a lot of young single mommies. We have a lot of grandparents, young grandparents raising grandchildren. So the trauma just as a whole in this area, I've never experienced as much in my whole over 20 years in early childhood, even owning in my own program for 9 years. And so it is, you're dealing with so much within the teachers as well as within the families. So it's not as if you can just go to work and everything be fine. It is different every single day of the week. There is not a day that is the same with teaching staff or with families. We just had our coach just had a major stroke, massive stroke, is in the hospital. And then just prior to that, we had a mother die in a car crash on 285. So it's all, we have a lot of trauma. We have a lot of death surrounding our families and our children. So it's important for us, and I'm hoping that this video will play just to give you an idea, and it may not. On Leapfrog's website, we have a video that just kind of gives you a better feel for what the program is like. And so our program is actually owned by 2 cousins. They are very, very, very smart businessmen. And they actually just now have children. They're married and have children of their own, but they're young. One is 41 and one is 38, I think. And so they've owned this program for 13 years. So I've known them the whole time that they've owned it. So they were in their 20s when they decided to buy a child care center. And when you ask them why, they wanted to help the children, but initially they thought it was a good business. Right. And so this is what we know. This is what we've all talked about this whole conference, our whole lives we spent talking about this, that pedagogical leadership plus good business practices equals high quality. So shared leadership for us is pedagogical, but it's also a business practice as well. And so we're going to talk about now how we do this. So I wanted to share my why with you because, you know, sometimes things happen and I always laugh. I don't laugh, but ha laugh, but I say, wow, I spent my whole career just ended up on the child abuse registry. What was wrong with me, right? So our bus driver in 2019, October of 2019, she was having issues with her blood pressure, left a little person on the van. One of your nightmares completely all the way around. 35 minutes, fortunately, which is still 35 minutes too long, right? But it could have ended much worse. The baby anything could have happened. So as a result, always standard licensing inspections, investigations, citations, but in the midst of that, someone called DFACS, and DFACS did an investigation, or not an investigation, however you want to say that. And myself and the bus driver were placed on the child abuse registry for our state. I had no idea, zero. My licensing consultant called and she's like, Lisa, is everything okay? I'm like, sure, why? You haven't talked to the police or anything, have you? I'm like, no. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, the van. And so I had to leave the premises immediately. I was off-site for about 4 months. And during that time, everything completely fell apart. Just what you think when the person that holds all the knowledge is not there. And the others will tell me, they're like, I was trying to manage a child care center from off-site, maybe 3 hours a day from my kitchen. It's impossible. So by the end of the time, Jit told me, he said, Lisa, I don't know what we would have done if you hadn't been out any longer. I also have a project with United Way. And so I was at the library with my United Way project, and the parents from Leapfrog would come to the library to see me and hug me when they knew that I was there. And so we were on the verge of losing parents. We were on the, I would have staff call me, well, Miss Lisa, when are you coming back? I don't know how much longer I can take this. And when I came back, I knew there had to be a better way to function, because you never know what you need until something happens. And then you're like, oh my gosh. And so me, having been in early childhood for over 20 years, on my own center, all those things, I'm not thinking about having to change my leadership strategies. Why? I've been in it for a long time. And so that changed it, because I came back with the mindset, okay, I'm gonna hold you all accountable, because I'm not gonna be accountable for anyone else's behaviors again, right? Well, that was the wrong attitude. So if you can't make them accountable, make them leaders. So instead of trying to be negative, empower them. Create something that they want to be a part of. And so we created our shared leadership model at that point. And so I started pulling on the strengths of the program, because I never want to be the keeper of all the knowledge again. I even do that with my nonprofit group and my facilitators of that program. I'm not the keeper of the knowledge. And so I pulled on all the strengths. So I have a group of lead teaching staff that work with us. So traditionally you have academy director, assistant director, staff, or a curriculum support person, what are the other roles that fit into this hierarchy. And so with shared leadership, there is no hierarchy. I have a title because I'm on our licensing agency's platform. My name is there as in charge. That's it. And so we share everything. So we all have the same information. So that's how those two young ladies can be in that building right now and manage everything without us being there. And so that's how we want to keep it, and that it's actually more cost effective for the business, because everyone knows everything. So they're the floater teachers. So our members of our leadership team, they actually work part-time in classrooms and then part-time out of their classroom doing leadership tasks. And there are specific tasks, because we have so many. So one person, Miss Tony, does all of our food program documentation for our daily meal head counts. And Miss Denitrice actually mentors teachers in the afternoons for us. And then I have someone that does immunization notebook. There's someone, and I need to bring on a couple more people, so that the transportation, I hold that really close to my heart right now. That's not going out just yet. So we're bringing on more people for our leadership team, so that those tasks can also go and be taken care of. Everyone's learning how to do the kitchen so that the kitchen still functions. We have a teacher actually filling in while we wait and see what's going to happen with our cook, or until we find another one. And so we have a teacher actually that's in the kitchen right now. She opens up the infant classroom and then she goes into the kitchen. And she cooks and prepares, and we prepare AM snack, a full lunch, a PM snack, a full supper. We do like lots of food there. So she does it all, and she's gone by 3:30, 3:45. She comes in at 6 and takes a lunch. She's gone. So we do that. You know, our process is we utilize the strengths of our team, of our teaching staff. We do weekly team leadership meetings. Monday mornings, typically, we have consistent communication systems that are easy to understand. We take advantage of those teachable moments. That's how they learn and grow. We address the root causes to adult behaviors. That self-care piece is really important in the area that we work in. It's important anyway, but it's really important in an area as traumatic as the one that we work in. And so we do everything that we can to support their mental health. And we have a coach. I'm not sure if any of you all are familiar with Bob Lance, or any of you all familiar with Bob Lance. He's been in our field for many years. Wonderful life coach. And so our owners pay for coaching sessions with him when the staff need it. So that's just one of the ways that we support their mental health as we go through. So who wins the prize? The prize is a red polo shirt. That's the leadership team. It's a red polo shirt. Everyone else has the Carolina blue. Our two young ladies in the picture, you know, you have to have a little rebellion amongst your crew. We're trying to get them in red shirts. We're trying. So lead teachers. We have, for us and for me, because I've been in this field for so long, and just have a whole different perspective. I've done technical assistance. I am a trainer. I have taught college. I'm trained at ERS. I'm trained in class. So I can see a different picture. Educational credentials have weight, but that's not the end all be all. Those two young ladies that you saw in that picture, they don't have a credential. They're working on a CDA, but they don't have that right now. But that doesn't stop them from being able to lead people and to be able to care for our program and take care of it. And we do encourage and empower everyone, because part of leading people is encouraging them to reach for their goals, like Denitrice joining the public school system. I knew that was a goal for her when she came with us. So we helped her and encouraged her to go off and fulfill that dream. And as a result, she now comes and coaches for us. So it's a win-win. She gets to do everything that she wants to do. And that's one of the founding principles of Leapfrog. The owners do that for me. My goodness, I have a nonprofit and do consultant. I still teach at night and manage 3 of their schools for them. So I can't do all of that with just me being by myself. It has to take, but anyone, any group of people within a program, it's kind of like how, and when I think about shared services, because as at the Georgia Alliance, we always wanted to build those deeper shared services. And we always wanted to pull a group of programs together and have them working together and sharing. And I thought, well, why can't we do that within ourselves? Why can't we do that in our one program? And then we have an after school site, and we have an after school director. And then we've added a 3rd site, and we will have someone that runs that program, but that may just be one of our leadership team. We're still figuring out what that's going to look like, but that may be one of our leadership team. Instead of hiring a full-time director, we don't need a full-time director over there. And so that will really probably be a leadership team member. So there again, we're sharing it all out so that I will just look high level and not have to, but then with the work is still getting done because everyone's sharing in it and doing it together. And one of the things that people are like, well, how do I get a red shirt? It's that initiative. And we get a lot of people that we interview that come to work for us because the way that we lead. And we actually have 2 people that work for us that were directors before, because the same things we all feel, they weren't supported. They were left alone to just try to figure it out. And we don't leave anyone alone to figure it out. We figure it out together as a group. So here are just some other, as we're looking at, our weekly leadership team meetings. They typically take place every Monday. They last for 30 minutes to 60 minutes, depending on what we need. That is the time that We may ask them, what do you need? So if it's communication, we may talk about a communication quiz, and then we may talk about how we communicate together. So all those same kind of trainings that you may do in an hour, we do that together as a team, and we talk about it. So the purpose is to also set the tone for the week. So if there are any challenges they had the previous week, we can talk about it, so that moving forward into the next week, then we are covered, and that we can make sure that we are with each other, so that we can support each other through whatever is going on that next week. We observe the behavior, we coach the teachers, we do lots of open-ended questions, and we have video. So the biggest support that I've had in moving things forward is having the teachers come in and watch the video with me and use that as a coaching tool, because then they can see what I see, and then it's easier for them to go, oh, you know what, Miss Lisa, I get it. I didn't realize, because they're in the weeds of it, they can't always see what's taking place. So this is the impact that this has had on us. We, the staff, feel more empowered. Their confidence levels are through the roof. You know, communication across the program has increased, because we all know and we all communicate together. And we try to also foster that same team approach in our classrooms, because we co-teach. We don't have a lead teacher and an assistant teacher, we co-teach. So everyone shares in the lesson planning, everyone shares in the running of the classroom for the same reason. If someone is absent, the classroom still needs to move forward, regardless of if that person is there. The same way the building still needs to move forward. The overall working environment is better. There's more laughter, more camaraderie. You know, we laugh, and Leapfrog, we call it the frizzle. And everyone says it's the frizzle or it's the F-R-O-G. And it's always jumping, right, ladies? That's what they say. So we say that we're going to get t-shirts that have the F-R-O-G, you know. So newer staff, as we said, they want to join because of our leadership structure, and they don't feel stuck. They feel like, hey, I can go somewhere. And even if it's wanting to go somewhere, because I do consulting as well, we have teachers that want to open up their own childcare program. We'll learn as much as you can learn here, and then we'll help you go do whatever it is that you want to do. And then they feel empowered. So maybe they stay a year. Okay, then for a year, I've got the best teacher I could have ever had. And it gives us time to groom other people to come on in that place. So now you're going, Lisa, that all sounds great, but what's the downside of all of this, right? So just making sure that we have enough people in the pipeline. We believe in depth on the bench, just like any good sports team, right? Depth on the bench. So we're always making sure that we snag up those awesome people that come through, that have that potential, that have that desire, and have that love for children. So that we're constantly, like I said, we have 2 people that have been directors before. So we've got a person that's been an assistant director before. We have people with different degrees. We have Miss D has a business degree. So we have people with business degree. We have multiple people with business degrees. We have people with master's degrees in business. We have, of course, teachers that are working on their degrees in early childhood. We have associate degrees. We have younger teachers in our school program that have their associate's degrees in computer science. So we have a variety of degrees, along with people with CDAs. It just depends. We have people working on their degrees. We have people working on their CDA. The staff that we have that has her master's in business, she also is just finishing her CDA. She is 61, I think. I think she's 61. Yeah, she's also the one helping us in the kitchen and loves it. She said she would prefer to stay in there because she gets out on time. Yes. So, and also just making sure that we maintain our teamwork in time. What we do, we are short-staffed sometimes. So the leadership team help cover those shortages. So there's times that they may be in a classroom as well. So just us maintaining our communication throughout anything that may be going on within the program at the time. And also just cross-training everyone, because you don't know what you don't know until you need it, right? So just making sure that everyone is prepared. And right now, we are in that mode of rebuilding our leadership team because they've gone off to do their own things. Denitrice has gone off to the public school system, Amika has gone off to the public school system. And so it is, now we're just refilling and rebuilding, but that's just that's just what you have to do. If you want to empower people to be successful, then you're going to have to be willing to let them go and be willing to rebuild, however often that may be. So I want these ladies, well, first tell me what you want to know. I kind of threw a lot at you because we have an hour, so I wanted you all to have time to pick their brains. What is it that you would like to know? What questions is it that you have for them? Yes. Yeah.
Hopefully. And it's very convenient too. Sorry, we gotta.
Now, please don't let that deter you from questions.
So my question is, for staff who are teachers and part of the leadership team, how does that, has there been any animosity from the other teachers? Do you get a higher compensation and pay? Can anybody become part of the leadership team? So it's questions like that, like what's the effect of this type of leadership model? Since I know you talked about having co-teachers, and so there might be comparable salary. So that's my question. I want to see the effect of what's happening.
Okay.
You know, the reality of it.
So as anyone can be a member of the leadership team, as if that is their desire to do so, and they show a tendency towards leadership skills or that they're teachable. We have, through the pandemic, we have raised our teaching salaries. And as a result, it has helped us to increase retain our teachers better. And so just depending on the level of experience, a lot of our teachers, more of the bachelor degree teachers, of course, have a higher salary than the teachers, some of our teachers with the CDA, but they know that they have room for that growth and that upward movement. And I don't think, Letty, you talk about towards the animosity.
In addressing the animosity, when I first began, because I was not a teacher, I thought that coming in, new kid on the block, being in the leadership, on the leadership team immediately was going to be an issue. And I was kind of leery because Lisa made me put on a red shirt immediately. And so I thought, okay, because they've been there for years, and I'm just coming in. But when I'm in leadership, and I knew there were people there that wanted to be in leadership and, you know, had done that. So for me, I was like a little, you know, biting the nails a little bit, but also too, letting the teachers know that I've been a teacher before. I know whatever you're going through, I've done it twice, I promise you. And so being more relatable and just making sure that, you know what, we can do this together. You can teach me, I can teach you. I'm no better than you. I'm just a little older, and you know, but letting them know that we can work it out together. That it's not, and I'm not some magical superior creature, whatever. I'm just here. I'm here to help you be better. We can help the children. That's why we're here. We help the children better. It's not an issue of, oh, I'm going to lead you, It wasn't even so much as that. It's just that I did maybe this skill better or this skill better, whatever, and had a lot more experience than some of them been alive. So I'm like, that was the goal I was trying to impress upon them more than anything, because I was really kind of a little antsy coming in right in the beginning, you know, just having boom, 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 and just having being a leader right off the beginning. So it was a little antsy, but just, you know, letting them know, okay, we can do this together. We're gonna work this out together. What you need, I'm here. We're gonna work it out together. And that worked. It really does work. And so now I can walk into any classroom now and address any teacher for whatever reason. You know, I'm like, is this okay? How we doing? Good morning. Everybody's okay? What we doing? Da, 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 da. And it's fine. And it's any classroom. I don't have any feelings of, you know, anything that makes me feel weird or antsy or crazy, because I'm literally walk into any classroom and be okay.
I'm a little different. I'm the open book person in Leapfrog. You can come to me and tell me anything and I will not judge. I'm the person that will get down and dirty with you. Whatever that they are required to do, I have no problem with doing it with them. So I think that's what they saw in me. And I really don't even use my title, hardly ever, unless somebody just asks. But I was always wanting to be within the mix, but lead at the same time so they would be comfortable with me. So it wouldn't always be do this, do this, do this. Hey, let's try this. Let's see if this works. Let's try it together. You know, and I guess that's what made me want to be a coach, because I want to get down in the dirt with you so we can rise together. So that's why titles really don't mean anything. They do. It's an accomplishment. I appreciate it. But I want everybody to be where I've been and go through the things that I've gone through, so you'll understand, you know, okay, yeah, this is not an easy job. I've seen Denitrice go through the trenches. So, and she's going through the trenches with me now, so I'm comfortable and I know she'll lead me in the right direction.
I can come to you if.
And-
You love that we got that worked out.
You didn't want to come to the front.
No. We are tech savvy.
Yes, and we're not afraid.
That's right.
So processing in real time, but trying to formulate some questions for you. So I have two. I'll get them out. So the first one is, there's a big 4-month event leading up to this shift in your organization, right? So you're gone, everybody feels it. So the buy-in was very natural, or I would guess more organic. So if another organization was trying to do this where there wasn't this shift, how do you motivate or get that buy-in from the team that this could be a good strategy? So that's question number one.
Mhm.
I can pause because I wrote notes. So I can pause.
That's fine.
Okay, the other one is, I wholeheartedly agree with your philosophies on what does the individual person need, and I will provide you professional development, and I'm happy to coach you out, up, down, across, sideways. If it's not with us, that's okay, because I can't be selfish. So I know there's so much talk about retention. That's not my jam, right? Because I find retaining you, but the passion is gone, or that's not where you want to end up being. Neither of us are succeeding, our families and children that are not served adequately. So my thought is, if I have 50% turnover rate, or what looks to be turnover, I'm saying coaching really smart. I don't want to compromise services, but now I have vacancies.
Mhm.
So year after year after year, that's exhausting. So what are some strategies that you implement when we have teacher shortages, when we have family service worker shortages, when we have brand new directors, to make that a sustainable model so that I can go back and convince everyone that I am right?
Absolutely. So, thinking about, I probably should have had you pause. Give me the last 5 words of your first question. Give me the last 5 words of your first question.
First question, buying and motivation when we haven't had a catastrophe.
So thinking about buy-in, for me, it's all about communication and setting that stage. So we talk about modeling a lot, but let's say you have a whole group meeting and you say, this is what we want this is what we're thinking, get their buy-in. Ask them, how do you feel about a shared leadership? How do you feel about us leading as a team, us leading as a group? Get their questions. They'll probably say, well, what about some, they'll give you all kinds of questions. And then address each one of those questions and say, how do you think we can get there together? What do we need to do together to move the program to that?
Can I just chime in as someone?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, Sharon. That's okay. I'm Elsa from ELB, but I used to run I started really small with shared leadership. So my staff was 40 people, and when we wanted to kind of like start developing more opportunities, like I didn't have the capacity to do it all myself, and I wanted staff that were more invested. So we found kind of a way for our staff to go to professional development trainings off-site. We paid them to go. And the best part about it was that they kind of came back and then they led the next staff meeting, like half of it. So it gave them an opportunity to be a peer leader. We let them pick the topics that they wanted to go to, so it was something they were interested in. And then it meant I didn't have as much pressure to plan a staff meeting. And it also gave them sort of that street cred with their peers, like, hey, like they had this wisdom. It really helped me in my last homework session. Like, this is somebody I can go to for advice, and their advice might be like, go ask Elsa. But you kind of start to build that, and then you know like who's doing well with that kind of thing, and who you can ask to take on extra work, and you just kind of build.
Yeah, and you know your team, and so you know who shows those strengths on your team. And it's like Elsa said, just start giving them tasks, extra little tasks that just happens, and it does. And for the retention piece, we actually retain teachers longer than otherwise. I've had 2 leadership team members leave me, but I only had 3 at the time. So that's why we were in the process of adding anyway. But we haven't had anyone. Miss Tony's been with me almost 2 years now. Yeah. So since we've really got into this, we've had less staff turnover. And the turnover is if someone moves or they tell me their long-term goals, like starting a childcare center is not something that they can start overnight. And so then I help them to learn everything that they need to learn in the process of doing what they want to do. Ms. Steve wants to check.
And I think that's what helped me to be a little bit more comfortable with the job or being at Leapfrog, because Miss Lisa was understanding when I came in the door. I said, this is what I want. I want to eventually go to the school system. Even the owners knew that. That is my ultimate goal. But I had no clue that I would love early childhood so much that I could not leave completely. So I would leave the high school that I work for now and come to Leapfrog for 2 to 3 hours to coach and mentor, because of the fact that they allowed me to learn so much, whether it was in the building, whether it was professional development. We just talked about that crossing the street, how excited I was about the coaching session that was early this morning. So with those, and she allowed me to come here. Even though I work somewhere else, she gave me the opportunity to come here. So I'm thankful. And that makes me work even harder when I go back to Leapfrog, because now I have even more resources. So that's my motivation.
So I'll jump in with an observation kind of question. I think that one of the things I notice about your approach is a real flexibility around jobs. It feels like you kind of build jobs around not only people's interest and passion, which I think is really pretty cool. It sort of reminds me of, really good practice is kind of child-led, right? Like you understand what kids are really interested in, and then you build curriculum, you build experiences around that. You're sort of doing developmentally appropriate practice with adults. But so it's partly around their passion, but it's also around their life needs and scheduling, and the fact that you're willing to have some people work less than full time. It feels like it gives you access to a whole lot more potential candidates. Do you want to talk about that a little more?
It actually does. And we talk, and I try to meet my staff where they are, like we do the children, because each one of them are different. Each one of them needs something different from me. And if I can meet them where they are and help them to be in the class that works best for them, or the schedule that works best for them, then that helps them to be the best that they can be for us and be happy in what they're doing. And it makes them more motivated, kind of like the children are more motivated when they're able to do what they want and what they like. Teachers are the same way, the staff's the same way. And one of the biggest things is that when they talk about, I was just thinking about in the equity discussion where they were talking about control. It cannot be about control. Are there going to be mistakes? Absolutely. Is the ball going to be dropped? Of course it is. But in that, there's that teachable moment, just like we would with the children. It's a teachable moment so that they have the opportunity to learn and grow. Because if they never fall down, how are they going to get back up?
So, a really great program, a great system, I should say, but how do you keep, so I can see this being an issue, and as I'm proposing it to my other leaders, how do you keep the process objective? Can you talk a little bit about the process of selection and just leaders?
Absolutely. And if you really think about it, as the leader of a program, you're always looking high level and you're looking across classrooms and you're looking across teachers. And if you're really truly keeping it about the business and about the children, there are no favorites. And so you're looking at everyone objectively, like you're doing those anecdotal notes on the children, you're doing the same thing on your staff, especially when you're assessing them, and their strengths naturally come. So it's not that, I really just think that it's when you have favorites, it makes it personal. And so it's not personal for me because it's my job and the children are my job. So it's not personal. So when people cross those lines of personal and professional, it becomes favorites. So if you can keep it professional and keep it about the work and keep it about the children and keep it about the business, then it's easier not to choose those people. Yes.
I wanted to pretty much harp on what Ms. Lisa is saying. I'm one of the younger leadership people as well. So you have the other teachers that are young, most of them are young. So they kind of, when they come to you, I don't fuss at them, but I help them to understand. And I'm, like I said, I'm an open book. I don't care if you say, Miss D, I went to sleep and I fell asleep for 2 hours in the car instead of 1 hour for my lunch break. Okay, that's okay. So what is it that we need to do? Are you tired? What needs to go on? I'm an open book. So the more that you're an open book and you keep it professional, because they'll tell you, well, Miss D gonna get on you if it's not correct. But Miss D understands. So it's always both. It's never just one or the other. I'm not gonna get on you and not understand at the same time or have a solution for you. I will never have a complaint without a solution. So I always think like that and I always keep it business.
Just to address even about the favoritism, at Leapfrog, I think for a minute, working with so many women, always people will always assume, okay, she's a favorite, she's a pet, this is what's gonna happen, that kind of thing happens. And so I actually had to tell the teacher, I was like, look, she fusses at me all the time. She has no, yes, I said, you have no idea I said, we are in leadership and there's a reason why we're saying we're happy what we're doing. But we are not above reproach. We definitely have to be on our P's and Q's. We have to cross the T's, dot the I's. We have to be on it because people come to us, the teachers come to us, the parents, the children, everybody comes to us for something. This is why my cohorts come with the red shirt. But she, she doesn't, Lisa never makes one person feel like they're more than the other, ever, trust me, she doesn't. And so, I'm thinking, you have to understand, I know some of the teachers don't always see what happens behind closed doors. And, we have to do a lot and wear a lot of hats, and that's fine, because I'm used to doing that. But I think, they have to understand that, she gets on to us very well. She does a very good job.
I do have a director voice that lives inside of me.
Yes, and so we often we make a joke about channeling our inner Lisa when we have to get into, we have to talk to our teachers about something or whatever. So she doesn't have any favorites. That's facts. That's facts.
And I think I was groomed that way. When I first started my career in early childhood as a director, I ran a brand new program for these very smart ladies. And they straight up, you don't do anything with your stuff outside of work. You are their boss. You have to supervise them. And I remember when I went into, started doing training in TA at Quality Care for Children, actually. And I remember Lisa Belson saying, well, Lisa, you want to come and have lunch with me? I said, what? You mean I can have lunch with you? She was my boss. I'm like, I can have lunch with you. She's like, of course, come on. I'm like, okay, let's go. Because I had just been groomed in that fashion of that I have to separate that line, because if I'm their friend and I have to discipline them the next day, they're going to be really hurt. And that's not the intention. And so they have to see me as their supervisor.
I'm gonna ask you again.
Come on.
Really philosophical question here. Is there such a thing as two shared services? We have the word collaborative in our name. And I think sometimes what happens among leadership is when there isn't a responsible person, there's no one to make corrections with. There's no one to, okay, making words. So it's like, oh, well, it's everybody's problem now, and we all have to figure it out. And so, there's always that default type A person whose name is Tara, who who's cleaning stuff up. So I wonder, is there such thing as we're sharing too much? Sharing is caring, I get it. Too much.
I don't think so. And the reason I say that is because there are certain things, ultimately, I am the one in charge, ultimately. So at the end of the day, if anything goes down, engineers are gonna go, oh, hey, Lisa, what happened? So, but in the midst of us sharing everything, we each have designated things that are ours, so the accountability piece is there. So Ms. Tony has the food program. So if Ms. Tony's not caught up on all of those daily meal counts, then we go straight to Ms. Tony. It has nothing to do with Denitrice. So let's say Denitrice is responsible for collecting lesson plans. We all know how to collect the lesson plans, but that's her specific task to do. And so if the lesson plans aren't posted in the classrooms, then I would go, hey, Dee, where are those lesson plans? What's going on? How can I help you? And so the biggest piece about the shared leadership inside a child care program is that sharing the knowledge. We all do tours, we all do enrollments, we all answer the phone, we all take payments, billing is going to start coming off my plate as well. So there's more things coming off my plate because I will be traveling between 3 locations. So then I can't keep the billing on my plate. But so we all know what's going on at the same time. We have a whiteboard in the back office that any updated, anything that's upcoming. So if there is a teacher schedule change, if there is inspections, like when we have our annual fire inspection, all those things get listed on upcoming. We have a section for requested off. So every staff that has followed the process and has requested their time off get listed there for the week or the month even, depending. And then we have for new enrollments. And so every new enrollment is listed there. If there's a child with medication, it's listed there. We have a staff communication log that's at the front desk. So those call-ins are listed on there. Parents have messages. Any of that is listed on that communication log. So we all know where to go to get the central information. And that's the key, is because if I'm not there and someone calls about the fire inspection, Miss Tony, Miss D, anybody can go back to that board and say, oh yes, they're going to be here tomorrow at 9 a.m. So a lot of the small things are what can trip you up. Let's say licensing comes in. They're going to know where all the transportation documentation is. They know where everything is for that visit. So they even handle the fire marshal if I'm off site. So that's the key in me not being the sole keeper of all of the knowledge and being the sole person that interacts with everyone. Because then that puts me in a position of I can't leave. Oh my gosh, I couldn't come and present here if that were the case. Because then what would fall apart while I was away? So through that communication, so ultimately I'm in charge, big picture. But we all have our own tasks that we're accountable for, but we all know how to do those tasks, and we all know where they're located, and we all know what to do with them. So that's the key with the shared part, is that everybody knows what everybody is doing, but you don't have to touch it all. Like I know what everybody's doing, but I don't have to touch it all.
I appreciate the additional explanation. Oops. This is for the people online. Hello, people online. So I really, really appreciate the extra explanation, which now just seems like really obvious. But as we would potentially collectively sit down and come together on this, it's almost like determining what can we all share.
Absolutely.
Right? So I wrote down all the things that you said, because that just makes total sense. We talk a lot about what is customer service look like in a school.
Yes.
It's on all of our interview questions. This to me is that. If a stranger comes into the building, they can look at anyone and that person can help them.
Yes.
They can answer any question and not be tripped up or not have to be sent down the hall to somebody else or wait here for 20 minutes while I get so and so.
Somebody's on lunch.
So this feels doable, and this has been my favorite all day. All day.
Thank you.
All day. I'm so glad I didn't go to my room and like eat snacks or something.
I'm glad you didn't either. Well, and you know, and that is the whole point of this, is that our lives need to be easier too. We have lives outside of, we want to have a life. I want to be like Louise one day. I told her that years ago. I said, Louise, I want to be like you one day.
I just want to really commend you. I wrote a few things. I'm really inspired by listening, and I do want to hear more for setting up such a compassionate process. And I could hear it in your stories, and as you share in this parallel process. If it's good enough for the children, it's good enough for the adult learners, and demonstrating regardless of age, there's no ageism here. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us. And I just wanted to speak, I was thinking about the competitiveness, and I kept hearing through your explanations how you've created access where everyone feels that their goals are going to be heard and understood and supported. And it's just such amazing work that you're all doing, especially in a childcare setting, where it tends to be very individual and who's leading, and the hierarchy is a very dominant culture. And you're just embracing a culture of collectivism, where there are agreements which are stronger than accountability, because accountability is about someone holding the power. And what you're describing is really transformational around having agreements that are stronger than just that. And I just thank you. I am so inspired. I've tried to have done this outside, like in more of an office setting. And when I was a cook, and then I was the preschool teacher, I worked in a co-shared situation where we were co-teachers. And it was just such a wonderful experience. I still think fondly of my experience there. And I had many other experiences, some that were not so. Thank you for sharing all that you've done.
Thank you so much.
I think the hardest thing with the shared leadership is getting your parents adjusted to a team versus running to Miss Lisa's office and about to knock you down on the way. Like, hello, I'm a red shirt too. So the more and more that they see the presence of the team working together, then they can ask anybody. Because it was, for example, it was a parent who went straight past 3 of us and went straight to our office. Miss Lisa, I need this done, this done, this done. And she said, okay, then I'll get that to you as soon as possible. Probably I'll try to get that to you tomorrow. I just heard it because I was walking back towards, so I went ahead and turned around, got on the system, printed out what she needed. Miss Lisa, here you go. And she was able to give it to the parent right then. But she was busy. Oh, she was busy. But that makes a difference when your parents see a team versus just that one face.
And I will redirect them. So if I'm in my office with another staff person and someone comes to me with a payment, I'll go, oh, Dee can take that for you. Or, oh, Miss Tony will take care of that for you. And then I direct them back so that they know. And I'll tell people when they call us, I'll tell them we lead as a team. So there's always someone here to help you. So any of your questions, just let us know. And if I'm not here, there's always someone here. And I always stress that there's always someone here that can help you. It is much less stress. And I chuckle because when I say that it's never the same, we have to have fun at what we do. So we have 2 daddies, we've had fist fights at the front door. I mean, we really have that. We have guns and book bags, you name it. And so we had 2 daddies that were voices where they were about to argue, they were arguing. And before I could even get out of my office, Dee, one of the ladies in the pictures, Denitrice, was at the door and she goes, all right, Miss Lisa, I need my security shirt now. I'm like, yes, you do. Because she was already meeting and said, not today, not here, and then by the time I got up there, and then we both posted up outside the door. But it was a team, in the past, it would have just been me. We've had many fights in the parking lot, all kinds of stuff. So, but she instantly jumped into action. But we had the joke about her being Big D and that she needed her. She's like, Big D's on, Miss Lisa, I need my security t-shirt. I said, yes. So we're gonna make one. So that's why we always tease and call Leapfrog the frizzle, and that it's always jumping and just trying to have fun. Or I'll tell everybody I'm back at the FROG today, or not at the FROG. And so you have to have fun with it. Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. It's dinner time. It's 5 o'clock. So you are released for the evening. But we are so grateful. This conference is really just trying to challenge us to think in new ways, right? This work is about thinking in new ways. And we talk a lot about business, but this
Contact information.
there you go, contact information. But this is a really transformative way to think about the work that you do. So we really appreciate you coming all the way to share this with us.
And thank you all so much. Thank you for your questions. My contact information is there. You guys are welcome. Please reach out anytime. We're happy to help. We're happy to share anything that we have, because our knowledge is not for us to keep, it's to give out. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.